All right, we're going to get started here. So welcome everyone to our roundtable, where today we're going to discuss how coupons can drive more than sales. My name is Dev Seidel. I'm the Director of Marketing at Fobi, and I will be your host today. During this roundtable discussion, we'll illustrate how coupon campaigns have increased the trial of your products, grow your CRM, activate shoppers from media, and give valuable intent data for your merchant teams. We'll also dig into what are the common brand goals that we can achieve from coupons. Our main focus today will be broken down into 4 sections. So the first section that our roundtable discussion will cover is coupon strategy. Our next one will be national versus retail specific coupons. The next is the blue sky outlook on coupons. And then we'll finish off with a Q&A or a question and answer section at the end. So just to give everyone a heads up that is viewing our presentation today, you can use the Zoom tool on your menu bar below to submit a question, and then we'll be able to live answer that at the end of our presentations. So as it's going on, feel free to submit your questions in there and we can organize them and get them ready for the Q&A section at the end. I'd like to start and welcome our panelists. So we have 4 amazing panelists today that all work in the coupon industry. Our first one is Elva Lewis, CPG consultant and retired marketing director from Procter & Gamble. We have Jesse Tompkins, marketing operation manager at Jack Link's Protein Snacks. Ellen Greenfield, team lead of consumer engagement at Henkel. And Eddie Watson, president of Qples by Fobi. Before we dive into our roundtable discussion, I'm going to let our panelists give a little bit more in-depth overview of what they do and how they're using coupons. This will help our viewers relate to the different panelists as we work through the different topics and discuss the different brand types, experiences, and verticals that they have experience with. I'm going to start with you, Ellen. Can you give us a brief understanding of your background and experience and maybe the kind of what you're currently doing with coupons and activations at your company?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I am the team lead on consumer engagement for Henkel. I've been in this role for about 6 years, and I work across 2 of Henkel's business units, the laundry, home care, and the beauty business units. So I support all of the brands within those 2 spaces. And, you know, we use couponing extensively. So to support a variety of different business initiatives and strategies. And, you know, we can talk a little bit later about, you know, some of the ways to approach that. But we get a lot of value from coupons beyond just selling product. So I think what a lot of people don't realize is there is very much a strategy behind deploying coupons. And I think once you understand that and really apply it to your specific business challenges, you can really have a lot of success with your coupon activation.
Amazing, thank you. I think we're going to move next to Jesse. Can you give us a little bit better understanding of what you're doing at your company?
Absolutely. So again, I'm Jesse Tompkins, and I am currently at Jack Link's. I had joined the team in a shopper marketing role, so leveraged coupons at the retail level quite a bit then. Have now shifted to a marketing operations role where my my responsibilities cover a lot of different things. I manage licensing. I manage all the marketing processes for Jack Link's. But the primary areas of responsibility specific to coupons is, again, shopper marketing. So I'm creating the strategy for our shopper marketing across all channels, in addition to responsible for the development and execution of what we call our drive period. So it's our national events that we're trying to secure more both physical and digital display in store during some key moments that are important for our category of meat snacks. And so leveraging incentives quite frequently to accomplish that, in addition to just our overall incentive and sampling strategy here at Jack Link's.
Great, thank you. And Elva, I'm going to move on to you next.
Yeah, Elva Lewis. So I was at P&G. I'm retired from there, 24 years. The last 9 years of my career, I was leading our marketing operations, direct marketing, and promotions. I started Brand Saver, P&G Brand Saver, the scaled FSI booklet, also our digital load to card, the first load to card program, eSaver. And so our CRM program as well, our scaled, doing all kinds of scaled promotion. So I've now been consulting. So since I took early, but full retirement, but I have to work. So I've been consulting with other CPGs. So Georgia Pacific, Nestle USA, did a little work with PepsiCo and some others. So still in this promotion space that's dominated by coupons, and I can't think of a type that I haven't worked with. So lots of FSIs definitely, but then digital, print at home, as well as load to card, and then in-pack. Every brand is different. So I did a lot. I was previously a director on IAMS, dog food, pet food. And so in-pack works really well for pet food companies. So I can't think of a type: in-store, shopper, brand, you name it. So just lots of different experience with different clients, but primarily P&G, using every type of coupon we've got.
Perfect. Thank you. And last but not least, Eddie Watson.
Eddie Watson here, president of Qples. I'm one of the founding members, and our number one goal is to find a way to make it easy for coupons to be created and sent out. We work directly with the brands. So I think I spend 90% of my time on the phone directly talking to the types of people that are on these calls, seeing how they want to deploy coupons. And then we worked with them to either develop or show them how our system can do those things. And we're super excited, not only about all the standard stuff that we've always done, but really excited about the new future of stuff, which is the new digital programs that are just now starting to roll out and becoming national. And it's basically the best part about doing my job is the blue sky stuff that lets us try new things that have never been done before.
Great. Thank you, Eddie. Well, let's get into this exciting part. As you can see, we have some very talented people on our panel today. So I'm sure we're going to have some great discussion in this roundtable section. So we're going to start off with our first topic, which is coupon strategy. I think we often think of coupons as just being a piece of company's marketing strategy, but as we will discuss, coupons can be so much more impactful when they're integrated into every level of marketing, and that'll probably be a key thing that we'll talk about during this section. Coupons campaigns, like we said, can increase trial, grow your CRM, activate shoppers from media, and give that valuable intent data that we'll talk a little bit about as well. Ellen, I'm going to start with you and ask you an opening question to start us off. So our opening question is, what should CPGs or retailers focus on when creating a coupon strategy?
Okay, well, so the first thing I would say is the strategy itself is very important. And I can't tell you, how often people will come to me and a brand will come to me and just say, we need a coupon, or, what would you recommend? Or can your team execute this for us? And I always, my first question is always, well, what's your objective? Because it's all about what you're trying to achieve with that coupon. And once I really have a good understanding of what the objective is, then we can really start to think about, well, what do we want to do with that coupon? Because that will help drive everything, who we're going to target, what our offer value is going to be, where you want to deploy the coupon. All those things can be vastly different. So if sometimes the objective is just to move as many units as possible, and then you really just want to think about having very broad distribution and a high value offer. But if you have a trial objective, you might want to really focus on reaching very specific consumers and give them maybe a richer offer than you might normally. You might want to think about a stock up offer, because you might be trying to get shoppers to buy more than they're buying. And that also has the advantage of taking them out of the market for a while, right? So that your one of your competitors might lose a sale. So once you figure that out, then you can really think about where you want to deploy the offer. And is it going to be something broad reach and very efficient like an FSI? Is it going to be a targeted digital coupon? And then where do you want to deliver it? Is it going to be something national? Or thinking about what's happening with your key customers, perhaps there's a retailer that you really want to support, or where you've just gotten new distribution. So that might be the best way to deploy. And then there are all different ways to, of course, integrate the coupon into your CRM strategy. So using an offer in a targeted email, for example, to reach out to specific consumers and try and get them to sign up for your CRM program. And then it's a way of re-engaging them, getting them to continue to purchase, getting cross-purchase within your portfolio. Then the other thing I also look at is when do you want to reach them in the purchase cycle? And this will oftentimes tie into the objective. So do you want to really reach them pre-shop when they're making their shopping list? And then you would want to send them a coupon, obviously in the form of, say, an email or an FSI or something that they would, print out or clip before they went into the store. You also think about, well, do I really want to reach them right at that point of purchase? Because then you would want to deploy a digital coupon that they could potentially be looking for right when they're at shelf and they see a product they want to buy, and then they'll go and look and say, oh, you know what, there's a coupon on this one, so I'm going to purchase this brand instead of this brand. And then when you think in terms of the post shop and getting them to repurchase. So maybe you want to track people who've used a coupon recently and send them another coupon, or deliver a bounce back coupon within your product. So, just there's so many decisions to be made. And then finally, I would say the last thing that really is an important part of the strategy is just looking at what other marketing activities you have going on, because a coupon is a great conversion tool, but you also need awareness. And so looking at what other activity you have in market is really important when you're thinking about when and how you're going to deploy your coupon. If there's an opportunity to, for example, leverage a digital campaign that you might already have running and use that to drive to the coupon. So you can kind of educate consumers about your product and then give them an opportunity to convert. That would be one example. Or just also looking out for instances of stacking. Where even though you can't use two manufacturers' coupons together, there are a lot of rebate-based apps right now, and those can be stacked with a coupon. So that's kind of another decision to make, because you have to think about, well, do I want the consumer to be able to kind of double dip? You might move more units, but the liability is going to be higher. So you have to think of it really in terms of your budget and what you're trying to achieve.
Great, thank you. So I'll just open it up to the floor now to any other response that have maybe something to build off of what Ellen was talking about, or an experience that maybe you have with something that Ellen had talked about.
I mean, I can add to that. I think what Ellen just described is like the perfect foundation for how to approach coupons. And obviously, as Ellen stated, coupon can be a super strong motivator to try to change a behavior. I think the portion for me, what makes me most excited in how we activate coupons is thinking first about the audience portion of it as well. So as Ellen had stated, it depends what the coupon objective is, and then how that gets inserted within the whole path to purchase cycle, but then also kind of overlaying the dynamic that happens at every retail channel. So specifically here at Jack Links, I mean, our responsibility is to make sure we're effectively driving conversion at each of these channels, and just the behavior consumers now when in shopping mode, the behavioral differences are pretty significant. So like when you think about specifically what when you walk into a grocery store, you're kind of already pre-planned that trip and you approach that whole experience different than if you were walking into a convenience store where it's more impulse based. Different than drug, where it's more of a fill-in trip oftentimes. And then you look at mass, for example, and they're more focused on the overall convenience and maybe the stock up trip. So it's really tailoring the audience you're intending to impact or affect. And then the coupon could be the incentive, but how does that incentive get packaged and delivered effectively at the right moment? So I think in my case, I feel like media is such a focal portion, which again, Ellen did touch on this as well, but it's like the delivery mechanism, so that when you're motivating a behavior, you're actually motivating it with the right person, delivering the right message in context to the coupon, but not just for someone like, as Ellen brought up, you could drop a big FSI and you could inform the crazy coupon lady that it exists, and you can get a lot of seekers that may purchase your product one time only, but then you lack the ongoing loyalty beyond that. So I think it's just trying to assess the entire purpose, making sure you're really thinking about the audience, and then developing the tools to expose the right audience to that particular offer. And then again, like Ellen said, the structure of the offer is dependent on what your objective is as well. So all of it kind of is at play when developing programs. And then the last thing I will add real quick, as also mentioned, I think also what Jack Links uses coupons for oftentimes too is just motivating retailers. So if we were to apply an instant redeemable coupon on a product to try to get more displays in store, that's often motivating the retailer more than even potentially the consumer. So I think that there are multiple benefits that accompany your strategy as well.
Yeah, I would add, I mean, strategy seems to be one of these things that is the least thought of when it comes to these processes a lot of times. And there's so many different levels of ways that you can strategize around your coupon. It's not just, do you want to pantry load or do you want to sample, but there's ways to mitigate that fraud and mitigate a lot of different things that are effective there. You have to figure out your budget and what you think your redemption rate is going to be. And even just choosing not only your values and the products that it's good for, but also how does your expiration date help affect those things? If you're doing a high value coupon, you can lower your expiration date to help manipulate that and allow you to still get the benefits of the coupon without getting an insane high redemption rate that blows your budget for the year. And those are all things that can come in handy really well if you think about it all the way across the board. And then your coupon program ends up being way more effective than it might have been if you just said, I need to put a coupon on my site and move on with life.
And
Yeah.
one thing I would just add that's so important, and you should never underestimate the value of testing. You learn so much from testing and learning and trying different offers and different tactics to different audiences, and just measuring everything and benchmarking everything and then optimizing it. It's very important, and that makes a significant difference in programs. I mean, you really learn a lot, and it's really amazing how much you can improve and optimize when you really have the right level of data.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And I'll just throw in, it's perfect, Ellen, that you said that, because I was just going to say, I mean, you know, it's a big question to talk about the strategy, but it is about your brand, about your objective, what you're trying to do. It's very much what Jesse talked about. Who is the consumer you're really trying to reach, and being aware of that. And none of that really works well. And this is the thing I think is most overlooked is, and it's because it's hard right now. It'll get easier a little bit with 8112 future and serialization, but it's hard right now for CPGs to measure who did I really get those new trialists. But at the end of the day, it's all about incremental. No matter what you're trying to do, build trial with this audience or build loyalty with this audience, it's all about incremental. So if you don't pay attention to those nuances in the strategy and that where you deliver it, the how you deliver it, you're just going to be subsidizing a purchase you would have gotten otherwise. So it's about all of those, you know, it's kind of like the marketing mix of thinking about the basics of who, what, how, when, where, my brand, my competitors, my consumer themselves. But at the end of the day, then kind of mishing that together to say, okay, what do I know? Exactly what Ellen just talked about. What do I know about what's worked before? And this particular tool drives more trial, or this particular, you know, media vehicle reaches my consumer better. I get more engagement. So measurement's key, pulling it all together, and then thinking about, like, it helps me always put a fine point on it to think about that incrementality. Okay, this will get me some new trialists, but will it get me, you know, great? Will it get me, you know, loyalists? Will it get an incremental purchase from them, or am I just subsidizing? So that measurement and thinking about focusing always about the incrementality against the right who, what, how, where, when. It's complicated. It can be very complicated, and that surprises a lot of people because they think, it's easy coupon. But if you get the strategy right, the balance of shopper that Jesse was talking about too, it's a difference in your absolute, you know, annual results you get from coupons. It isn't just, okay, let's blow out some sales. It's who we blowing them out with and what kind of sales are they? Are they really the right incremental ones against the right people? So measurement key, yay. Glad you added that, Ellen.
I was
Yeah,
about to say,
no,
testing is so
absolutely.
important.
Yeah.
It changes everything. And although this is the only story that I'll tell, I promise, but I'm not going to say the brand's name, but I had a brand that consistently only ran 75% off coupons. And I asked them why. And they said, because when they ran dollar off coupons, they redeemed less because their consumers, for whatever reason, thought 75 cents was more impressive than $1. And they never would have known that had they not have done their initial testing from the beginning. And it's such a random amount, different that would make the difference. And they did the same thing with 50 and 55 cent off coupons. Their 55 cent off coupons redeemed way better because it was an odd discount size, and you don't typically see that random order offer size. So it's such an interesting thing that if you can't find a way to test and to go through those things, you might not ever know what you really should have known.
I think that's just a great litmus test in general. I mean, I've seen this with certain brands where you ask a question, why are you running this offer? Why have you been running this offer? And if they can't give you an answer as to why, then that kind of signals a problem, because you should have some, you know, you should have some strategy in place. You should have done some testing, or at least be in the process of doing some testing, so you at least can start to form a hypothesis. Right? If it's just, we're doing it just because, then that just signals a problem to me from the get-go.
I'm going to move us into our next topic because I think it's going to dovetail nicely our previous topic into this next one. We can talk a little bit more about it. So our next topic is national versus retailer specific coupons. So really understanding the difference between a national versus retailer specific coupon and the strategy around these categories is very important. Jesse, I'm going to start with you for this topic. When it comes to different channels of where you can place your coupons, how do you change your strategy?
I think it can change dramatically. I think high level, it's interesting because a lot of national incentives can be syndicated directly onto retailer apps or you know, retailer sites, and so there's that added advantage. Depending on the channel, it's like, it's going back to kind of the conversation earlier. It's just fully understanding the mindset of who it is you're trying to reach, and then it's exactly what Elva said. It's giving that consumer or that shopper it's the where, the what, the how. So giving them the delivering the messaging along with the incentive that serves a specific purpose. So what Eddie said, if the brand that you quoted had found that a 75-cent offer worked better than $1 offer, and that's kind of a big, probably mass approach, I mean, it gets that much even more granular depending on the interest in the brand, the interest in the category, the loyalty of the brand. You should be customizing the structure and or the incentive amount to accomplish those particular strategies, and then deliver that where those consumers live. So I think, you know, retailers obviously expect that brands are going to do a lot of the heavy lifting to drive awareness of their brand, to drive trial of their brand, to drive repeat of their brand. And then oftentimes when you're trying to work directly with the retailer to leverage their assets, which oftentimes would prefer you do that, they protect their first party data, and their focus is to try to grow the category versus just growing the brand itself. So you have to put that context over it as well, because you have that from a brand perspective, the duty to ensure that you're growing the category through your brand. So I think all of those factor into the strategy at retail.
I think it's perfect. And I was just going to add, like, if you think about really trying to lay out at the beginning of the year, like Jesse said, what Ellen laid out is the perfect world. We don't always get the perfect world, but if you did get the perfect world and you started out at the beginning of the year and you literally would look at what national is foundational to me, and retailer is about amplification and customization, is how, you know, and who of my shopper that I want to go after is really going to this channel and shopping this way. So if you laid out your national plan as a foundational awareness building primarily and mass reach and trial generating efforts, and then you looked in between and you said, okay, what's my retailer stand for? What's this particular channel trying to get done? Or how much of our volume goes through that channel? And which of those national offers are going to work harder in these different channels? And how can I even make them different? Like, there's not a day that goes by that, you know, that there's not a big national offer that, let's say, a Walmart or even an Albertsons or a Safeway, everybody's got different SKUs these days, different sizes, they approach it differently, convenience. So here's the big national offer. Even taking that and saying, all right, what SKU am I going to feature here? What's going to really make people use that coupon in my channel? And then also creating in those gaps between the national. I mean, like, we all know retailers always want every bit of money that can come to them. So it isn't about ignoring the national, it's about making it as close to what works for you as possible. And then in those gaps in between, what's the right kind of, you know, promotion incentive that really works for my customers, these brands, these categories, and driving that volume. And it's the retail customization is it's something that I don't think people do very well. It's hard. And I do think that it's a unique place where targeting can play. And because the retailers are kind of stingy with the first party data, it's often hard to get that targeting right. But there are some ways to do it. And if nothing else, just making sure you're at least customizing that national offer in a smart way, and then coming up with one or two big opportunities that really speak directly to your retailer and their category objectives and what they're trying to get done. But it's tricky, very tricky. And it works best if you can lay out that whole world and then see where you pick your fights in between that can really do some different delivery for those particular channels or retailers.
I think that's a really good point, Elva. And I would just say in general, and you're right, because that's the perfect world and it usually doesn't work out that way. But as much as you can have a holistic view of your entire plan, you know, at the beginning of the year, so you can really understand all your marketing activity above the line and below the line, and then look at both what you want to do from a sort of broad reach coupon perspective and a more retailer specific customer perspective. That's how you'll really optimize your efficiency and really get the strongest plan. So I always find one of the challenges is you lay out a strategy, and then as things shift during the year, you make changes. And it's always challenging to keep that strategy intact. So I would say the better visibility you can have to everything at once from a higher level, the more opportunities it will open up for optimization and just efficiencies.
Yeah.
And to add to that, I do think it's important to understand what is important to retailers too. So what are the levers that we can pull on our end to secure even more with those particular channels? So like working with your sales teams to say, this would be the time to run a hot promotion, or this is the time to, take a price cut to secure that ad feature while we're, the overlays that all happen. So it's not just you're distilling one strategy. It's kind of this layered approach based off of the shopping behavior and the priorities of that particular channel and or retailer.
Yeah. As soon as you open up your brain to retail, you start thinking about that. You do start thinking about the efficacy of omni-channel marketing. If you really don't think about their plan as one element. So it's layers on top of layers. And sometimes it can be too much actually, but because you're like, that's not the intent. You didn't need to go that deep or that broad in terms of multiple offers building on top of each other. But omni-channel, and it all happens at point of sale, one way or the other, electronically or physically. And so making sure that you're thinking about that total presentation, that total proposition that you're giving the consumer, to really make sure that what every money you've spent everywhere works hard, and that it builds on itself. So that's a great point.
The only thing that I would add, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to add one other thing that I think might be valuable information for people who are kind of just dipping their toe in the water here is digital coupons have become really important in the retailer specific environment in terms of using them as a lever to get feature and or display. And there are more and more retailers now who are really requiring that. So if you're going to be included in a feature ad, say, or you're going to be on NCAP, they're expecting some sort of digital coupon support. So it's something important to look at too, because when you look at the the ROI that you're getting back from investing in that coupon, you're not just looking at the cost of activating in the coupon and redemption. You're also looking at that additional exposure and incremental activity that will be generated because of that feature or just that quality merch that you're getting in conjunction with the coupon. So it becomes a really important piece of your, retailer strategy as well.
Absolutely. And the only thing I would add on, because you guys have already covered everything so perfectly, is the ones that I've seen that are the most successful have a very comprehensive strategy that they planned out for the year, but they don't hold that strategy so close that they can't adjust it. And as the year goes forward, if you have something that pops up, you should be able to be flexible enough to modify that strategy on the fly to fit whatever the current need is. And that sometimes can get lost really quickly. And so it's important to find ways to make sure that you can be flexible and adjust as the things pop up and do things. And that can be a lot of things. That can be not only your strategy changes, but maybe your capabilities do. And so picking the right partners and the right processes to do those things makes a big difference in that scenario.
I'd like to open up just kind of a general question in this topic still, looking at the lens through what our roundtable is about today, driving more than just sales. What would we say is outside of sales, what is a retailer looking to drive more of versus a national seller? Is there different areas that they're looking to drive outside of sales with their couponing?
So you mean a retailer versus a manufacturer?
Yes,
Was
sorry.
that your question, Devin?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, I would say with a retailer, obviously it's more specific. I think they're ultimately as Jesse mentioned earlier, they're looking at their whole category, right? And not just at your specific brand, but also it's really just about driving traffic to their store, I think, right? And also building baskets. So they want to get people to come into the store and they want to get them to spend more while they're in the store.
Yeah, I would just build on that. Like I learned this. I'm very old, so I feel like I've learned this a long time ago. I remember a sales guy at P&G telling me this. There's only two ways to build business in the grocery business. You sell more to the people you got, or you get more people. That's just the same for everything, for brand management, for anything. You either get more people and bring more, literal engagement to your portfolio by new folks, or you get the folks you got to buy more. So the retailer, they know that. That's their deal. So it's all about getting more people in the door or getting bigger baskets going out of the door. So they focus on loyalty, and that's the blessing that has, they've been awoken to with load to card. They're like, yeah, I got to get these people, I got to keep them here. And to Jesse's point, though, the tricky part for as a brand person or trying to do individual brand marketing is that they really don't care if they sell Bounty or they sell Viva paper towels. They just care they sell more paper towels. And theoretically, if they've got a private label, they're making more profit there. So they just want to fill the baskets and drive that loyalty and drive the equity that they've established for themselves. So I think that they're more focused on, their business, their loyalty, and the volume that happens there. Whereas, brands are more focused on the national play. So, but that's where the things like the idea if I'm a big box store and I carry larger sizes, okay, how do I take advantage of that national money and drive my loyal side, my bigger sizes, drive that business. And if you're the one that's got the right level of promotion, how do I make sure that they're clear on that so that I'm the guy that gets chosen this week as opposed to the next guy? But they're all about their own loyalty, but everybody's about trying to make, drive more volume really with the people they have or spin those doors. And we can do both. Coupons can do both, national as well as retail.
And I think it's
Right.
important. I agree with what you just said. And I think you probably experienced this, Alva, at Procter & Gamble, because I formerly worked at Kimberly-Clark as well. And I think one thing that we learned was super successful is kind of providing solutions through an incentive. So it's like you can leverage other brands within your portfolio, or even reach out. It's kind of important in the CPG world to have friends, outside of your own company that reinforce kind of what would be meaningful to the shopper, but then you can co-promote and you can develop those solutions and execute those through scalable offers or through incentives as well, which is super effective because then everyone wins.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's really underestimated. The co-promotion and the talking to other brands is so important. You can do so much more together if you both bring your own audiences together and you use those audiences to co-promote each other's brands. Not only does it double your audience size, but it doubles the basket size, and it works out really great for a lot of things.
Mhm.
And so I didn't think about that, but you just don't see it as much as you probably should.
No.
Which kind of goes back to like the very beginning of the conversation where Ellen was saying it's so important to kind of look holistically at the entire year, because oftentimes those types of opportunities need to be planned and vetted way in advance, because those are not easy executional opportunities either, and require a lot of co-development, and then oftentimes though are very appealing to retailers for various reasons. So
Yeah, and I think it's also true, like the thing about co-promote, and I learned this at Nestle especially. I did some food work at P&G when we had food products, but there are categories and everybody's different. So if I'm going to be speaking to somebody, I bet you like it's hard to get that freezer door to open. It's really hard. And so, okay, if I could co-promote with something that's off shelf in a different part of the store that gets the same type of consumer, then I'm gonna move that. The retailer loves that stuff. It's also like center store. The retailers, they've lost a lot of business to center store, to different places, different times. So how could I do something that would drive that center store sales? So they're looking at that total picture, and that even includes just category engagement period, like getting the freezer door open and getting people in the center of the store, out from the outside. So that I love the co-promote idea, and it just reminds me that that's just another way to think about how the retailer's thinking about it. It's how do I get the maximum store volume? And we can help with that in the way we offer the right promotion with the right partners sometimes. Absolutely. And it's critical in some of the different categories. You can't get a display of pet food. Cannot. They will not do it. It's too big, takes up too much room. It's just gross. They're not going to do it. So all right, how do I get them in my aisle? Because there's no way I'm going to get merch on this. So how do I get them in the aisle, at the pet food aisle? And how do I get that freezer door open? Those are hard things that they think about all the time.
And it
Right,
gets
and
moved back
even
forth
thinking
across-
about, well, Oops, sorry, Eddie. I
Oh,
was
no,
going to
that's-
say anything, they can build a thematic around. That's a big thing for retailers. If you think about s'mores, right? And every summer you see the end cap display where you've got the Nabisco graham crackers and the Hershey bars and the marshmallows, so whether it's spring cleaning or it's, back to school in the fall, it's a lot of work on the manufacturer end. I've done a number of those programs. I come from an agency background before Henkel, so I've been involved in quite a few of these partnerships, and it's surprising how complicated they are to put together. But when in theory, it's really simple, right? You come up with a thematic that's relevant to shoppers during a specific time period with, products that work well together and a bundled offer. And if you can get it together on the manufacturer end, the retailers absolutely get behind it.
And oftentimes you might make sense to be paired with different brands, but as brought up earlier, you might not be located in the same space, and there's such already kind of trends in how shoppers behave while in store. You talked about center store, et cetera. So I feel like oftentimes by establishing those partnerships, it thematically could make sense, but you've never been considered to bring like a beef jerky, let's say, to a apparel portion and create a wellness. I'm making this up, but it's just there to try to build baskets by kind of surprising people where you could really make sense, has been really effective as well, and requires in most cases kind of bundling the incentives. So.
Yep.
And, I would say, like, to Jesse's point, that's again where data can be so effective, right? Because if you look at basket data, like where you were just starting to go with wellness, I bet there are a lot of people who eat jerky, right? Like I know people who eat jerky sort of as part of like their workout regimen, right? For energy in between meals and before they work out. So by putting the jerky together with some of those other type of products, all of a sudden it's like an aha for that consumer. They're like, oh, wow, this is perfect. This is like a perfect high energy snack that I can like have like right before I step into the gym. And sometimes you get those ideas by looking at data and seeing what else consumers are purchasing when they're purchasing your product. And that's what oftentimes, for me anyway, has led to some of these partnership ideas.
Thanks, Ellen. And I think, oh, sorry, Jesse, I just want to get to our last topic. And I think we're going to talk about a lot of this in our last topic as well, too, because I know a lot of us are excited to talk about 8112. And Ellen, as you just had talked about there, data is a big part of what 8112 provides access to. So I almost want to split this last topic into two parts. So this is our blue sky topic, because I know that as 8112 rolls out, there's a ton of exciting stuff that's a part of that. So I want to keep that as one part, but also I want to look at, well, what is the current blue sky with the current landscape? So Elva, I want to start with you because I know you have a lot of experience here. Some people that maybe aren't ready to adopt 8112 yet, what's some blue sky outlook that they can look for with coupons?
Yeah, if you were mentioning to me that you would ask me like, what's my biggest wish for? That's hard because I always have like 3 or 4, 10 things I want. I'd love no counterfeit. I'd love a million things. But honestly, point of sale validation, and I know it's going to sound like I'm geared up for I'm selling some particular thing. I'm not. It's, if you're a marketer, you understand that right now, like it or not, most coupons, if it's not a load to card coupon, where it's built into the system, you have no idea what the consumer really purchased. It is completely about how the retailer decides to validate that coupon. So you put all this money out there, you think about your consumer, you do everything we've talked about, you've got the perfect offer out there, and you have no idea, even by getting a redemption, whether you really, really talk to the person you wanted to talk to. You can look at your sales. There's lots of ways where you can tell yourself that, but that's one of the biggest, saddest secrets in the grocery industry at the moment. I think that our point of sale validation isn't what it should be. So we're not sure that the person's buying exactly what they're supposed to be buying. So that, as a marketer, that's what you always want, so that you look at that redemption, you go, yeah, and I know they not only bought it, they bought my stuff and they bought the exact right sizes that I wanted them to do. I give all this thought to the offer, and then it doesn't always, come out that way. So that's, for me, that's my big wish for, and that would be the biggest thing that's broken. After all of this work, it's a little sad sometimes that you think I didn't get what I meant to get.
Does anybody else want to talk a little bit more about what our current blue sky is before we bring in the big, beautiful 8112?
I would just say that the ability to not be consistently worried about fraud, because so many of the coupons now are load to card, but there are definitely instances where I would like to deliver a coupon that can't be load to card. And I'm really not that comfortable doing it. And if I do it, I, am very cautious about the offer value, very cautious about the distribution and how it's being deployed. And it's not a good user experience either, right? Because they have to print it out and go through all that trouble. And so it's not really good for anybody. So I'm really looking forward to being able to have that really like seamless way to deliver an offer, where I can just embed a link where, in any communication vehicle that I wish to. And I don't have to worry that it's being misused. I get all the accurate information back. And it's a great, easy experience for the consumer. I mean, people are on their phones all day long, right? So it only makes sense that you would want to just have the coupon right on your phone and be able to scan it in whatever retailer you happen to walk into.
Great. So let's move on to 8112. And Eddie, I'm going to direct this one first, that you first give us kind of just a brief overview of what this new 8112 standard is and what we're excited to use it for, other than just driving sales, so we can kind of keep in line with our topics today.
Yeah, absolutely. So 8112 is the next iteration of all couponing, and it includes a couple of major features. One, every offer is completely serialized and registered inside the Coupon Bureau databases, and it's validated on scan. And so each consumer gets an individualized coupon that can't be shared, that can't be redeemed multiple times, and it solves basically every problem that we've talked about here that we're discussing. And it gives you additional ways that you can do things that you can't currently do. If you want to be able to force somebody to open that freezer door, well, with 8112, you can deliver an extremely high value or a free coupon directly to their phone at the freezer. That will force them to go open it. Do you want them to get a free coupon there? You don't have to send. I mean, how do you do trial for a non-shelf stable product?
Mm-hmm.
You either do it in store or you're kind of out, and that's it. But with this, you can deliver an offer and immediately they can go right in there, open the freezer door and move on. But it also allows for a lot more specific things. It's harder to do things in the current processes the way that we do it, with family codes being the limitation of how you deliver the offer. It's no matter how specific you get on your offer description, the family code on the barcode determines what products get redeemed, and it's can vary very widely depending on the brand and how many products are associated with that family code. But with 8112, you can go all the way down to the G10 level. So you can do a very specific coupon and you can set that up individually. And if you get a redemption, you don't necessarily have to have the POS data directly, because you set that coupon up where it's only going to be redeemed for one individual product. And when we talk about cross promotion and things like that, that's one of the things that we built in very specifically for the way that 8112 works, is how do we make these coupons not be limited by the 70 digits that are required inside your barcode. You can be much larger. You can have much more easy ways of integrating coupons together and cross promoting these things. And that can be one coupon that has multiple brands associated with it, or it can be 10 different coupons that are all bundled together into one barcode. Both of them provide a really good user experience and allow you to do a lot of different things. And then it's up to you as the marketer to choose what's the best way to do this and what's the best way to activate this individual consumer. And that's where the marketers have the ability to do that. We just don't have the ability to give them a great way to get the coupon at the end. And print at home was revolutionary 15 years ago, but it's changed. We didn't have iPhones back then. We didn't have a lot of things. Now we have to find these ways to do it. And the next iteration is not only can we deliver it to the phone, but can we deliver it in the phone in the right way? Do they have to download an app? No, they don't have to. Can they add it to their phone in the app? Yes, they can. Can they add it to their wallet pass? They can do that. All those things are available and easy for them. And now the consumer can not only get the coupon on their phone, they can choose how they interact with it on the phone. And sorry, that's my soapbox. I'll stop. This is the best part though.
But yeah,
I was just
sorry,
gonna
go ahead,
add to that, like the redeeming coupons within the convenience channel space is super challenging, which is a huge volume channel for Jack Links. This solves that, correct?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
That's huge.
I'll just chime in. I mean, there's so many benefits, but we've hit the biggest ones. But I mean, I also will make a play for paper's not dead. So it ain't going to be all on your mobile phone. We all know everybody doesn't have a smartphone, and everybody's not going to redeem a coupon there. My 87-year-old mother is not going to use her smartphone that way. I'm still re-explaining email versus text. So we're not doing the coupon thing that way. And things like I mentioned earlier, IAMS, my experience with pet food and also with a little bit of Nestle. Impact coupons for pet food are amazing. Why would you ever want to do walk away from that? Because it gets delivered to the right person at the exact right time when they finish that bag, and there they are ready to go buy the next bag. But 8112 enables the technology. It's like, oh yeah, it's 2020. It's now 2021, 22, and we can finally do this. We can literally put a QR code on that IRC, drop it in there, and you don't have to have 2 years worth of lead time on your coupon. You can change the offer on the fly. You could even change it for the person who's got this bag versus that bag. So all the old ways of working coupons work better and smarter, and you have more data and you can do different things with them. In addition to opening up new places, new, like Jesse mentioned, new ways, new places, new people, appealing to folks that do work on mobile and do go in different channels. So and I get my blue sky wish for, which is it's all freaking validated at the point of sale. So I know they really bought what they were supposed to be buying. So all of those things, no counterfeit, Ellen's wish for. I think that the challenge too is e-com is challenging. And I think it helps tremendously with that. And can allow us to not just give the coupon away on e-com. I wonder about the incrementality on e-com. And so it just does a million things, but that paper's not dead. And I think it'll help drive us into the omni-channel truthfulness of omni-channel as opposed to what we're doing today. So had to add that.
Perfect, thank you. And I think because we have about 5 minutes left, I want to open up our question and answer section. So again, if you had a question that you didn't yet submit, please use the tool down below so that we can discuss them. But I'd just like to start off with this first one because I think it ties into what we were talking about. Does all 8112 coupons, or do all 8112 coupons have to be on an app? What about a printed high value coupon, or what about an IRC?
Absolutely. Both. You can do both of those things. So exactly. You literally think about putting a QR code anywhere you can put a QR code. I don't know if for those of you that are marketers, maybe 10 years ago, people were trying to tell us, oh, QR codes are going to be the next thing. Yeah, well, finally, maybe they're here now. So these QR codes can enable us to have a bit.ly link, or, Eddie will know the right terminology, but just a straight link to the actual coupon itself that they can have on their phone. You can literally, so it can be delivered in paper, but it is a paperless offer they can put on their phone, or they can literally carry the piece of paper in there and it will work as well.
Exactly. 8112
right on the package.
Yeah, 8112 is not just digital. It's just the most exciting thing that everybody has never been able to do. But right. All your standard print campaigns should be able to migrate to this new technology as well and serialize. And now you eliminate fraud across the board, not just for digital campaigns, but for the print ones as well.
Yeah.
Our next question here is kind of tied to that as well too. So it's just generally saying we need retailers to play. So what is the realistic timeline for a rollout?
So this is one that I would really direct towards the Coupon Bureau, which they are easily available. And if not, reach out to me. I'm happy to make an intro. But it's now, and it's tomorrow, and it's in the future. So it's everywhere, and it's actively happening. The process is just a little bit slower, but we couldn't start the retailer integration until we had the foundation set up and ready. If we went to the retailers with a process that wasn't thought out and organized and already ready and thought through on the entire thing, they would never be able to accept it because there's no standards for it. And so those standards had to be written and created first, which is why everything else is done first. And now when the retailers are ready, we can just turn it on. And I know that TCB has a significant portion of ways that they can integrate directly. They can do it themselves. They can hire out. They can also work directly with their accelerators. And there's dozens of accelerators actively doing this work and doing things. And it's anybody that touches the POS and has the ability to process that information. And so it's rapidly working and going, but nothing's ever as fast as you want it to be. It's like planting a tree. The best day was yesterday, but the next best is today.
Yeah, and I think for those of you who've been in the grocery industry for a while, I make it the analogy of old lady over here moving from UPCA to GS1. So I don't know if you remember that, but it took us. We told everybody, oh, it'd be done in a year, and it ended up taking us 3 to 5 years before it really got done. So I'm not going to say it's 3 to 5 years. I'm hoping it's a lot quicker than that. But this year there will be some significant activity, I'm certain, with significant retailers being ready to go for us to be able to really use it as what it's supposed to be, which is a universal new changed in a barcode, very much like switching to GS1 as the new barcode that everybody, that's the standard that everybody accepts and reads. You know, it may take us a little longer than a year, but I feel like we will see some major opportunities to leverage 8112, Elva Lewis talking here, this year for sure.
And the only thing that I would add in there, and this is the only not very specific thing around the Qples stuff that I would respond is, we thought through this and we know there's going to be a transition time. And so that's one of the reasons why we built in the ability to do dual offers that we have. So we can take a new 8112 offer and an 8110 traditional offer and mix those together and let the consumers choose. Do you print it, redeem it anywhere that that product's sold because it's an 8110 and it's available everywhere? Or do you clip it to your phone and then take it in and we provide that process in the, or that information in the process to them? Here's the available retailers this coupon can be redeemed at, and that list grows. And the goal would be to eventually not be offering a dual offer at all, and we're only offering it as a digital. But there is a transition time, and we want to make sure that we're not eliminating a whole bunch of consumers from either side by trying to say only one way works.
Right. And that's what happened. If you remember GS1, there was a period of time where we had to put dual barcodes on any printed materials. And then we were able to lift them once the retailer was confident that they were able to do both. And there are third parties out there that Sigma Ledger, ICN, others who are offering solutions, Inmar, I believe, but there are people who are offering solutions to retailers to properly scan at the point of sale, really validation using the cloud, using the 2022 technology for 8110. And those guys are really going to help. As Eddie mentioned, accelerators, they're going to help once the retailer starts going, hey, I can validate this thing at the point of sale and bounce off of records of counterfeits or good valid offers, or in the future 8112. That's going to speed up the retailer acceptance of it. Right now they're just used to keeping that all in like an individual vacuum and not leveraging the cloud, basically, and not leveraging the technology. So they're moving on that now, and so it will start to accelerate and open the door for 8112 acceptance.